right, Kiss Army. Welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Daniel came sliding in, and he's not wearing his sexy new mittens. I'm very disappointed by that, Daniel. Good to see you again. Got Lonnie St. Louis Kiss.
What's up?
Mark's Almighty Mark.
Greetings.
And the voice of reason, Ken.
Hello.
69th Blizzard, of
Good
course,
morning.
on the board. So I want to thank everyone for joining us live this morning. We've got an episode that is going to be a second edition of Kiss Versus. We're going to be rolling up some of the classic Kiss albums and throwing them up against the competition for what was released in those years in the 70s. However, this week, let's start with Gene news, since we've got a Scandinavian in the house, and Gene Simmons is starting to announce some summer tour dates in Europe. He's coming to your neck of the woods, kind of, isn't he, Daniel?
Yeah, he's coming over here to Sweden, and first it was said that he was going to tour Dalhalla, where Kiss toured last year. So he started off with one gig there, and I've seen they've sold like 850 tickets, so it's not a big seller so far. But that's probably because they have mentioned that he will play some of the major cities as well. So he'll probably end up playing at least Gothenburg and probably Stockholm as well. So people are kind of holding out and waiting for these other shows to be announced. So, but it's cool. He's back, and I saw him a few years back in 2018 in Stockholm. It was a great show, and I'm on the fence if I'm going this summer as well. I probably will.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of European fans are going to get the opportunity to do a road trip, because if Gene's out there doing one market, I think Holland was already announced as well. But these dates are popping up. GeneSimmons.com, that'll be where you get all your news up to date. And if not, there are certain people to follow on Facebook who have accurate information. So, Lonnie, you've seen the Gene Simmons solo band. I mean, start chanting USA, 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 because
We're ready.
it doesn't help us.
We're ready. We hope these dates continue. It'd be fun. I mean, why not?
So I guess what the feeling I was getting out of some of the announcements was that U.S. dates may follow, but I would think that's going to be much more hit and miss. USA does not have kind of the summer music festival market that Europe has firmly established, which is a completely different ecosystem. Now, touring there is a little bit more of a logistical challenge, but if he's got a small self-contained band, and not the massive headlining Kiss show, it should be much easier for him. I want to say hello to everyone who's with us live right now. Opal Archive, Keep It Greasy, CMAC from around. Good to see you all. Thanks for joining us. The other big announcement is that clearly Kiss is celebrating the anniversary of the first album, according to their release date, February the 18th. And as I said in the last episode, it doesn't matter when you celebrate it. New items have been announced. So, let's look at this potpourri of awesomeness. There's the cornhole, of course. You know what?
Yeah.
If
Why not? They released bowling balls. So.
If it didn't sell, it wouldn't be there, So it's obviously popular. There are a lot of fans in the Midwest.
Whoa! Taking shots at the
There you
Midwest.
go.
What is that? What is
You're
that
a cornhole
about?
player there, Lonnie?
Wow.
Yeah,
What do you think we do on Friday nights?
Competitive cornhole players.
Cornhole. Looking for
Drink
that
beer and play
cornhole.
cornhole.
Get it in there.
Yes. So, Lonnie, you're flapping your lips. So, did you buy anything? And what were some of the standout items that you either picked up or you are just shaking your head at?
Well, I did get the gold record yesterday morning. When they went on sale, my wife's chiming in about cornhole. Even I did get the gold record immediately when it went on sale. I could have gotten the picture disc. It was there when I ordered mine. My colored, but these things used to be $50, and now the gold record comes with a T-shirt. Now it's after tax, it's over $100, and the picture disc is $250, and I'm sure after tax it's pushing $300. so I didn't get it. I probably could have, and like a lot of people did, probably could have gobbled it up and put it up for resale the next day, which I'm sure you can probably already go on eBay or some other site and find them going for ridiculous amounts of money. But no, I got the gold record. There's some crappy shit out there though too. At the same time, who's in charge of their merchandise? These decisions with a yellow T-shirt that says "Get up and get your grandma out of here." Who's gonna wear that? Who wears that?
I know this is terrible.
I told Ken, if they had done "That's really nice, now play Love Gun," for a Love Gun release, I might buy it, but that is a deuce. That T-shirt is a steaming pile. It's kind of embarrassing that is what they came up with for, some of the other T-shirt designs, to be perfectly honest, while they don't appeal to me, they're not that bad. But one with just that text is pretty awful.
Yeah, they could have had Gene on there. A picture of Gene on there, kicking grandma in the butt or something, At least make it a little bit more.
Mark, did you buy anything, or was there anything that really grinds your gears looking at that selection?
Okay, let me get that quarter ready. So here's the thing. I bought nothing, and I'll tell you why. Because when I saw this, I was absolutely, number one, flabbergasted at how inflated these prices are, number one. Number two, the fact that you cannot buy the album alone, separately, like you could with every other release that they've done so far, is an absolute crime. Because I didn't want that ridiculous long sleeve shirt. I don't wear white long sleeve shirts. Okay, so that to me was out the window, and it's expensive. Any way you slice it, it's just way too pricey, and it's not even that good, And I have several copies of that. And look, let's face the fact: that album is the same master, same cut as it was from the reissue that they did back in 2014 or 2016. The same thing. Okay, exactly the same thing, just gold vinyl. So you know what? I don't need another copy of that. I have a fantastic copy of the original on black vinyl, and I want that long sleeve shirt. Why they didn't do this individually is crazy, but they did it in other countries apparently. Australia, if you Kiss Online there, they had it separately. Other countries they had it, but no, not for us, of course. Because we're fools. We're gonna buy it.
Shipping logistics.
Okay, but we're also stupid enough to buy it too, to buy it in a bundle instead of complaining about it.
Ken and I.
Yeah, see, Daniel agrees.
Stupid ones.
We're foolish people here, But I didn't buy any of it. None of this stuff really appealed to me. I mean, I'm a T-shirt guy. I love it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the original Kiss page that they had back when they did the white vinyl version, and I'm grabbing the T-shirts from there because I like those T-shirts better. They're only $30 there. So I'm going for those. I love the T-shirts, so I'm going to go for those. But I didn't buy any of that. That's just nothing appealed to me about that. But one last thing quickly before we go over it, and this little self-promotion, but something else did come out yesterday or today, which is the new Project Gemini album came out on my Bandcamp page. So if you're looking for another option that's not going to, tear a hole in your wallet, okay, you can go there because I have a CD for $13 Canadian, which is next to nothing in American dollars. Okay,
there you go.
So there you go. If you want some good music, go and check it out. You never know, you might like it.
Well, we'll celebrate the release date of that album in 10 days. You did mention that the album is using the same master as 2014. Now, I can't remember whether it was Ken Mills or Matt Porter pointed out on Facebook that they were on the Apple Music site and that the debut album is apparently available as an Atmos mix or in Atmos. So for whatever that's worth, I think someone was also chiming in saying that there are nuances and elements that do stand out in the Atmos mix as presented in that format. So if you do subscribe to Apple Music, do check that out, because otherwise, I'm still listening to the 192 digital HD tracks version, which has been my go-to. Now, Ken, I thought that you would definitely be a buyer for this.
I know. I mean, I looked at it, I thought for 1 second, I thought that's kind of cool, and then I thought, but
I think it would be perfect.
I wouldn't wear it in public.
No, but on the podcast, you would wear your wizard thing that you bought a few years ago. With, with the stuff, and that one over that one, it would be magic.
Yeah. That
Oh, don't say magic.
Ah,
Don't
that
say
was
that word.
interesting. I mean, it's okay if I was 18 maybe.
If you were 9, maybe.
Yeah, that's the first
No,
thing I did
maybe.
was check the sizes. I thought that was
I know.
definitely only available
Kinda
for
like,
children.
well,
Nope,
you
it
know.
goes up to 3X.
yeah.
So Mark
Um,
could actually have it.
By the way, Magic was on the
That'd
board
be-
this week. But Magic, there was a whole lot of chatter about Magic on the board this week, wasn't there, Julian? You were
Always something.
involved.
Yeah, no, there barely seems to be a week where there isn't chatter about magic because, again,
Incredible.
the website keeps getting taken offline by malcontent purchasers, and it keeps coming back. So now it's into a doom loop of whack-a-mole. Because again, the person behind that failed project is still taking money and shopping on eBay. That was definitively posted on Facebook by a seller who was selling negatives
Wow.
and found out that that person had bought them and canceled the transaction and received negative feedback. So it doesn't have money for refunds, but can afford to be trying to buy negatives after already taking nearly $250,000 and saying that there's no money for refunds. So make of it what you will. And that's why the topic never goes away, unfortunately. And as much as I try and resist, because it's just futile at this point to continue a conversation about it. Let's get back to, some of this merch. Oh, Buckle, that's actually halfway
Okay.
decent.
It's all right. Yeah.
Better. It's better than some, yeah.
Julian, you're avoiding the one elephant in the room one. I wonder if you're going to touch on that one. Yes.
That one.
$1,500 banner.
On what planet does $1,500 seem like a logical price tag for something like this?
Somebody bought one yesterday.
What is it?
What? Why?
Somebody-
Like what?
somebody.
$1,500?
Somebody
Okay,
did.
if it's $100, okay, maybe I could see that. But $1,500? What on this? Okay, Julian, maybe I'm a foolish Canadian. What is it about that that's worth $1,500?
It'll be limited edition, and someone will want an exclusive, high-priced item, or maybe they were thinking that the similar item at Madison Square Garden and in the that they then did more of sold very well. Again, if that sold well enough, what's a corporate mind going to think? Well, let's double the price, and it will either sell or they won't make it. I mean, when's the ship date for all this crap?
It blows my mind that new
Yes.
merchandise can attract this sort of attention, and the people go crazy for new merchandise
Well, we don't know
produced
if they are.
last week. I mean, it's been like this for a few years now. It's the old stuff that you should be collecting. Old stuff, vintage stuff, the real stuff. I mean, anyone can make a T-shirt or other crazy stuff, and people gobble it up anyway. I don't get it.
Daniel, they force you to buy the bundle. When you
Yeah.
buy the vinyl. I like Lonnie. I bought the gold vinyl.
But how many editions do you need of the debut? How many Kiss
Yeah,
T-shirts
I
do you
need
need?
every
Do you
color of
need
the rainbow.
365 T-shirts because you're lazy doing the laundry? Is that it? Ken, isn't that the truth?
Wait a minute.
Here we go.
I do the laundry. So actually, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they force you into buying these.
They force you.
I want to stop you right there. They don't force you.
But yeah, I didn't have to. Right, I didn't have
Yeah,
to.
it is always a choice. Again, I went out for coffee yesterday morning, and I'd forgotten about this dropping. So I get back, and this is already sold out. And I'm like, well, I don't want that god awful jacket anyway. But the picture disc itself looks pretty cool. That it's using alternative or an outtake from that photo session. I think the Kiss logo's in rhinestones, so you can rub it. Well, I think of more interesting things to rub.
Yes.
The poster is like a mylar metallic riff on the original poster. So any collector who's got the original isn't going to go into a tizzy at it being duplicated. So I mean, as an item, I think the cover's also metallic print. I don't remember the details on it. I think when they don't have a lot of latitude in doing product, that they've worked pretty well with what is available to make a picture disc. And yeah, we had picture discs in Europe in the 80s of all these albums, but it didn't look like that. And I don't know what's on the back cover, or the flip side of the album. But it sold out. And I looked at that for a minute. I'm like, well, I don't want the frickin' jacket. And I don't want to have to deal with the hassle of reselling the jacket just to get the picture disc. Oh, and by the way, I don't actually need the picture disc because I haven't played any of the frickin' vinyl that I bought in the last few years. Psycho Circus is still sitting in a box with the t-shirt behind me, unopened. So, for me, I wasn't forced to do anything. Now, Ken feels forced.
Well, not truly forced.
Not forced, but I wouldn't have bought the t-shirt by itself.
Right.
Yeah.
If you would have bought it by the vinyl by itself, had it been there by itself,
You fools.
why would I?
I'm not arguing.
Anyway.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm
You know,
not
the other-
arguing that point. We are
The other
fools.
the other thing is, what is it? No, someone's already putting it out there on eBay for $999.
And someone has the choice to buy it or to do what
Oh,
I
my
did.
God.
Some
Were they
Kiss fan will
forced?
buy
The
it.
They were
seller.
forced
Some
to buy it.
foolish
They were
man will
forced.
buy it.
They're forced to make a profit.
No,
No,
I mean,
I
Kiss fans are conditioned to flip items because those limited edition, there were 500 of those picture discs available, and the limit was 4 per customer. I mean, that is just infuriating still. And again,
Makes me
as one
wonder.
of our commenters, John Ross, did state, limited edition Moose products.
I'm going to put that on
Your lap-
everything that I have. Limited edition.
Yeah.
There you
Limited
go.
edition
Yeah.
Kleenex that I blew in the studio when I was recording
Kiss-
on
and Kiss
sale.
Kiss fans wake up yesterday morning and it says limited edition. They're like, limited, and they lose their mind. And
They start throwing their credit cards at the screen. I mean,
Take my wallet.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really is that the hype. The vast majority of people I saw who are kind of in my circle were like, "That's the big announcement."
Yeah.
Eye roll. Because again, some of us knew what was coming, and refused to drop the hints just because you don't steal exclusivity from a corporate monolith. But then again, it's better than nothing.
There's another vinyl coming too shortly.
There's a nice Sex Pistols comment on limited
I don't
edition.
know what it is.
Yeah. Ever get the feeling you're being swindled? All right. Anything further on
No.
merchandise?
What about Ace's videos? Have you seen them? Ace going shopping?
Sure.
No, I haven't watched any of that stuff.
Ken, what do you have to say about Ace's shopping?
Ken,
It's just,
what do you have to
it's
say?
just ridiculous. It's just goofy.
I think it
mean,
was kind of fun.
It's just promoting. It's Ace. That's all I can say. It's like, oh yeah, that's Ace for you.
I think Ace is perfect for these YouTube shorts or Instagram videos or TikToks.
True.
I mean, just put him anywhere, and he's so out there. It works. I think it's a good way to,
out there.
he's better in a market than on stage these days.
Yeah. Well,
Unfortunately.
and who knows? The Osbournes worked as a TV show. Maybe Ace and Laura, can do something on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because, again,
There you
he's
go.
got an album to promote. And the way you do it in this day and age is get ears and eyes on it any which way you can. And that means sometimes making an ass out of yourself, as I'm an expert in.
Mark's first birth. Number
And
one.
he's what is it, 22? He's got more variants of the
Yeah, it's
album than
incredible.
COVID has. I mean,
Always.
It's incredible.
But I think
All
the
right.
team that's backing Ace is doing quite a good job at promoting his items.
they are. They've got him on every podcast.
Yeah.
They've got him everywhere, and we're talking about him. That's like that's. I mean, what the
I'll
hell
never,
else?
I'll never take that away from Ace as far as that goes. I mean, he's making new music. He's getting it out there, and the promotional team he has behind him is really good. I mean, everywhere I look on my YouTube feed, there's always something about Ace here on this station, on this podcast, or whatever. And he doesn't restrict himself. It seems he's gone on really big channels. He's gone on pretty small ones too, and as well. So I tip my hat to Ace for that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we were all quite positive when he released the first single. What did you think about what was it called, "Walking on the
Walking
Moon"?
on the Moon.
Yeah,
Not
I don't
bad.
mind it. I don't mind it. It's all right. The video was kind of interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And the next one is something about a cherry,
Cherry medicine.
isn't it? Yeah. So
I haven't heard that one yet.
Only heard a snippet.
no, it'll be out there soon.
Yeah, so it'll be fun to do the review show on the album.
Yeah.
I've already
Yeah.
posted my review of it on the FAQ, and it's so long ago now that it's probably buried a few pages back. But I like the album, and I've listened to it repeatedly. Every time I listen to it, I enjoy it. I'm thrilled that 50 years after the release of the debut album, one of these band
Yeah.
members is still, putting out new music. And should any of the others put out some new music, that includes everyone who's been in the band, then I'll be equally excited about that as well. Again, if we're not getting archival releases, then new stuff, serves a purpose to me.
So I'm curious, Julian, what's your favorite song from the album? Is it 10,000 Volts?
No, Fighting for Life.
Fighting for Life. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's real up tempo. Really, just it's a great vocal. And again, the vocal is the challenge, just with how Ace's mechanics and voice has changed over the years, and it's something that people comment on. But and the cover is really good.
Julian.
Yeah.
One question for you, because I haven't really gotten into the minutia of the record yet. But are these songs mainly written with just Ace, or is it really Steve and him writing a lot of this stuff?
I think just about everything was a co-write. There was one with David Julian, or Julian David. I always get it asked backwards. John Jeffrey, correct me. Who did 2 songs. Obviously the cover. I think quite a few things are ideas that start with Ace that then Steve took and developed into a song, or Steve brought in and then Ace put his stuff on. Again, the songwriting process, one doesn't devalue the other. If someone brings in a song and then someone puts their stamp on it, they're still putting...
Sorry, I was just going to say I'm not saying anything about that. I was just wondering if there were how much co-writes were actually happening. That's all.
Oh, sorry. Well, you just let me waffle on, and I will.
That's okay. No. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think everything was a co-write.
Okay.
I can't remember of anything that was specifically Ace only. Back Into My Arms Again, because that was originally written with Arthur Stead back in '84. I don't know what the credits are on that on the album, because I haven't seen the liner notes. So let's get into today's topic. Whose idea was this, and tell us why?
Well, I think it was my idea at first, and then Ken took it over and put in a lot
I get
of
it.
Took it over.
I kind of like.
strange albums that I had to listen to this weekend.
So you were forced to.
I was forced to by the voice of reason. So, but some of the albums were quite good, so I don't mind.
All right. Well, let's start off just with a broad question. We're going to be doing 5 Kiss albums. So Kiss. We're not doing
Classic
Hot
Kiss
because it's just one
Trust
year.
to Kill, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, and Dynasty.
Okay. Wait, do we have Destroyer?
No.
No Destroyer.
Oh,
No
that's a shame.
Destroyer.
That's a shame.
Next time we can do.
Mark refused.
Next time
Mark
we're gonna do
refused to
Hot
do
Hot
it.
and Hell and the solo albums, Destroyer and the solo albums. See,
So these
Yeah,
are going to be
that's a good
going up
idea.
against albums that were released by other big bands in that year. And again, Ken has dominated this episode's picks. So we're going to be throwing.
some liberties.
Well, let me go back to the original question I was going to ask. How many of the 5 albums that Kiss albums are matching up again are in your collection? Daniel.
Collection.
Yeah, how many of these albums are you familiar with?
I got you.
or
I
of?
got you. I was on mute because I had to make a Mark sound. Briefly. Yeah.
Mute? Why would you have to? Okay.
Yeah, I mute out my Mark
He
sounds
mutes
so
his,
people don't have to listen to them. Okay. Well, in my collection, collection these days, I'm a modern man. I don't keep collections like some other guys do. My collections are mostly digital at this point of time. So I don't buy anything from Boston or Blue Oyster Cult. That's for sure. But I actually bought an LP last week. I don't know if you guys have that one, but just because I wanted to show the kids at school, they don't even know what an LP is anymore. Last week I showed them a music cassette. Oh, okay, some record, but not all of them. So next week I'll bring the LP I bought. But I bought one that I thought was kind of cool. Do you remember Twisted Sister released Stay Hungry was a great record, and then the follow-up was a big failure. But I like
Come out and play.
Yeah, exactly. Come out and play.
With
Where
a
you can
sewer on the cover?
sewer. You can open the sewer, and
Yeah.
Dee Snider goes up like. So I bought that one just in order to
Right.
Oh, is that
show
what
the
happened?
kids this is an LP and this is kind of cool.
It's crazy.
We'll see what they think about it. They will probably, okay, let's go to Spotify.
Yeah.
Move
Lonnie,
on.
how many of the 5 do you have?
2. I don't have
AC/DC?
Boston. I have AC/DC and Aerosmith. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have. I have some Deep Purple. I don't have Burn, but I I have some Blue Oyster Cult, but I don't have Mirrors. So no, AC/DC and the Aerosmith album. I have the 2 of those.
All right, I had 3 of the 5. I do not have Boston, and I didn't have Blue Oyster Cult. Mark.
Good one.
I've got all of them except the Blue Oyster Cult. I own no Blue Oyster Cult.
You have no Blue Oyster Cult?
I don't like them.
God.
Ken is severely disappointed in you.
Oh,
You just need the single "Don't Fear the Reaper," and that's all.
no, there's
Godzilla.
a lot of stuff. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay, Ken, how many of these albums don't you have? Because this is your bloody list. You better have them all.
one. Oh, well, no, I don't have 2. I don't have Burn, though I have some of those songs on the Deep Purple box set. And then I don't have Let There Be Rock in my collection.
Oh, for shame.
Missing
All right,
that
well,
from the AC/DC.
let's get into these matchups. And, 1974, Kiss debut, celebrating its 50th anniversary, versus Deep Purple's Burn. Now, Burn is an album with David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
And for anyone who is unfamiliar with Deep Purple, because they were bigger in Europe and the rest of the world, a bit like Queen than in the US, so they did have a slight period of megastardom here. Burn is, I think, probably better remembered for the single, and everything else, once you start going through the track list on Burn, it's got, Mistreated. It's got You Fool No One, which is, connected with Kiss and Jungle. Might Just Take Your Life, Lay Down, Stay Down, Sail Away, A200. So there are a lot of songs that, to kind of more, knowledgeable Purple fans, are big Purple songs from this, what is this, Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V?
2 or
God
3.
knows.
4.
3.
Yeah,
I think.
with
I think
Purple,
3.
you
That was
lose,
4.
I lose
Anyway.
track. So Ken, you're going to go first up with compare those 2 and say which one you think comes out on top.
Yeah, well, Deep Purple Burn, didn't that follow Machine Head? Anyway.
No, it's way after that.
A couple albums after. Okay. But anyway, Burn, is a great song. Paul Stanley kind of redid that song for this Hell or Hallelujah song.
All
there,
American
kind of
Man.
a tribute to this song. But this album for me, Burn, is pretty good. It's well produced. I think it's Martin Birch, right?
No, that's self-produced.
I thought Martin Birch
No,
was on that
no
one.
Martin Birch.
Really?
Yep,
Okay.
that's according to here.
All right. According to there, wherever you're looking. Okay.
According to here.
Okay.
According to fact.
Yes.
According to Mark. All right. Look at the album. All right.
He engineered and mixed it. He didn't produce it.
Okay. Well, okay. That's close enough.
Okay.
So the first few, songs are pretty good. There's some other, Mistreated's okay. I think it's not as solid of a rock album or, fun rock album as the Kiss album. The Kiss album, a lot of these songs here, Deep Purple would not play in concert, except Burn and maybe one other maybe, and that would be it. It's not the classic kind of songs that Kiss would play in their concert, where they you got almost most of those songs on their debut album. It's going to be
That's a good
played.
point.
So just not necessarily just from that standpoint, but just from listening to it, I gave it a chance. There's some really good standouts and great playing on it, but some of the songs it do nothing for me. So I have to go with Kiss on that.
Big surprise.
I would hope so.
Well,
on a KissFAQ podcast, otherwise, Lonnie.
I'm not gonna pick Kiss every time.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
I listened to Burn this week. It was, it was fine. Obviously I'm familiar with some of the tracks on there, but we sung the praises of the first album last week and how great those songs are and how Kiss still plays a lot of those songs up until the very end. And Ken, you even said just a little bit ago, if you want to go see Deep Purple, they might play Burn off of this and maybe something else. I mean, that being said right there tells you a lot. And come on, this is a Kiss podcast. I don't even own the Blue Öyster Cult album, so I think it'd be a little criminal of me to take the Blue Öyster Cult. Blue Öyster Cult. We're not even
Deep
talking
Purple,
about
man.
Deep Purple. I'm all confused this
You
morning.
just reuse that quote the next when you get.
I can use that again later on, but
I guess Blue Öyster won't get your vote later on. Then
no,
okay.
they probably won't either. So I'm gonna go with Kiss over Deep Purple. I mean, it's a Kiss podcast that we're on every week, and I don't even own the album, and I have way too many copies of the first album, so it definitely wins.
Yeah, Burn for me is just an absolutely incredible debut album of Mark III, David Coverdale, Glenn obviously as well, and it is just the power British blues rock, which is just absolutely spectacular. But it is so tied with Coverdale's voice that Deep Purple, through its numerous lineups, this really is tied into that era. I love it. I mean, I can listen to a string of 5 or 6 Purple albums. I love Perfect Strangers. I love House of the Blue Light, slightly less.
That's a good album, yeah.
Nobody's Perfect, fantastic live album from the late 80s, and then I kind of checked out after that. It's great, but for my taste, it doesn't stand a candle to the Kiss debut, because again, the emotional connection that I have with the Kiss debut is greater than any connection with Deep Purple, as much as I appreciate it as a work of art. And a lot of Deep Purple's albums were works of art. There's a power, as some of the comments have been made, Kiss has been influenced by Deep Purple.
Just a little.
And how many guitarists have been influenced by Ritchie Blackmore? How many singers have been influenced by David Coverdale or Ian Gillan, for that matter? Or even Evans. Again, the band is a great band, but the Kiss album is just fucking spectacular, even with its imperfections. Daniel?
I think production-wise, Deep Purple buries Kiss. That's always been my problem with the debut, the production. I've never been a fan of it. I always liked the versions better on live albums and by other lineups live, like on Alive 3 or Alive in the first Alive. But the Deep Purple album from the same year sounds much better, I think. The heavy Hammond, the organs, the keyboards by John, what was his name?
John Lord.
John Lord, yeah. Magic. And I mean, Burn, the song, is one of my favorites of all time, I think. And as Ken mentioned, Paul Stanley was influenced by it. not once, I think, but several times. Like on the Alive 2 side when he did All American Man. That's kind of
Hallelujah.
hallelujah. Yeah, a few
And I Spell Your
times,
Love.
and but it's okay to be influenced by greatness. So, but if you go through the album, the Deep Purple album, I think both album has stinkers, or at least one stinker each. Love Theme on the Kiss album is terrible, and the last track on the Deep Purple album called A200 or something like that. I don't know what that's supposed to be. They should have edited that one out. So comparing these two albums, yes, I think the Kiss album has stronger tracks, but it could have sounded better. But I still have to go with the Kiss album. I mean, it's the 50th anniversary and everything. If I would pick the other one, I would be,
Stoned.
stoned. If I lived in the Middle East, they would stone me. Over here, nothing happens. But I go Kiss this time around.
Okay, Mark.
Okay, well, a lot of the stuff that Daniel said I'll have to support. Like, for example, Burn just sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great sounding record. Absolutely unbelievable. And I think Julian said it as well, that the power and performance on this record is just top notch. I mean, Burn, what a great opener. And I mean, also you have, Mistreated, which is one of my favorite songs, and such a great song that Richie took it with him when he did Rainbow, and was a staple of their live performance when they did it with Dio. Okay. And Dio did a great version of it on there. I mean, just look at the Rainbow Live, 77, I think it was, 76. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, I've said before, the debut Kiss record is in my top 5 easily. I've always loved that album. Yes, the production of it is weak. There's some tempos of it that are turtle slow. That just absolutely makes it unlistenable sometimes on certain days for me. But, that album's always had a kind of special place in there. I mean, there's 2 songs on there that are just in my top 2. Like, Black Diamond and 100,000 Years are such fantastic songs, along with Deuce as well, and Strutter. I mean, to me, that this was a much tighter decision than one would think, because look, doing this kind of comparison is sort of unfair because we're on a Kiss podcast, so everybody on here is going to be saying, "Oh, Kiss, 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 Kiss." But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, if you were to go out into the wide world, you'd be surprised how many people would probably pick Deep Purple over Kiss in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Easily. I mean, go to the UK, ask them what band's better. You'll I don't think they'll be shocked to hear that Deep Purple would completely bury Kiss.
People are stupid.
But
Daniel.
but you even said it yourself. You thought this album was weak, so
Yeah.
come on. So the thing is, as much as I love the Deep Purple one, I'm still going to go with the Kiss one. Not because I feel pressure to do it, but because I do actually like this record. It does have a lot of things in there that are nostalgic to me and that I enjoy listening to. But, like I said, it's not that much of it's not a landslide by any stretch of the imagination.
Shit, I'm going to be spending the rest of my day listening to Deep Purple and Rainbow
Yes.
now.
And Ken, just for you, Ken, real quick, the record
Yes.
that was before this is actually an album called Who Do We Think We Are? That's the one that came before this.
Is the next one Stormbringer?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool one.
Good one.
It's a great album too.
Well, let's move on into 1975. Dressed to Kill versus Toys in the Attic. Really? You going to do this to me?
Yes.
It's actually a no-brainer for me. So let's get started with Lonnie.
This one is a lot harder because I really like Toys in the Attic. It's filled with a lot of classic Aerosmith.
Not a lot.
I mean, classic Aerosmith. Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion, No More, No More. I mean, great songs. Great songs. But
Come On and Love Me.
Come On and Love Me. Love Her All I Can.
Lonnie's
Anything for
favorite.
My Baby. She, Rock and Roll All Night. I'm going to go Kiss. I'm going to be total fanboy and still go Kiss on this one. Even though I know Aerosmith is going to get some votes because, I mean, it's damn good album. Damn good album. But I do love Dress to Kill and those tracks on there, and the poppiness and the catchiness of Dress to Kill. As much as I like that Aerosmith album, still gonna give the edge to Dress to Kill.
All right, Mark.
Well, I do love Dress to Kill, and I love Toys in the Attic. Let it be known that Toys in the Attic was the very first Aerosmith album I ever bought, and I was instantly hooked on it. Toys in the Attic, Uncle Salty, Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion, Round and Round, No More, No More. I mean, honestly, Dress to Kill has Come On and Love Me, and it has, it has She, and it has stuff like that. But and when I go to it track by track on this, honestly, I'm going to give this one to Aerosmith because I think it sounds better. I think that the writing of it is much stronger songwriting on this easily. I mean, you can't compare, some of those songs to songs like Sweet Emotion, and No More, No More, or even Walk This Way, which we're all probably sick of, or Toys in the Attic. It's just better written. They had a better producer at the time. They had a better engineer with them at the time, and they were just better writers at the time, in my opinion. So I'm going with Toys in the Attic all the way on this one.
Okay. Be interesting to get Daniel's, opinion on this, because in Europe, neither Kiss nor Aerosmith took off in their original formats, and it took them many years to make inroads there. So,
I think what made Aerosmith over here was the soft songs, like the last one on the album, You See Me Crying. Those type of songs made them over here. Sweet Emotion is one of my favorite Aerosmith songs of all time. I love that one, especially live. Unfortunately, he has some problems, Steven Tyler, now. I would have loved to see them come over here on this final tour that they commenced over in America, but they had to, stop because of his vocal cords. Let's see. We'll see what happens with that. Would love to see them live. I've never seen Aerosmith live. Sweet Emotion, such a great song. But Dress to Kill, I mean, if you compare the Aerosmith record is much more, technical. Of course, more stuff is happening on the album. It's more advanced, so to speak. But Dress to Kill works. It's the first album that I think sounds great all the way through. The debut and Harder Than Hell has its problems, but this one sounds great all the way through. It's a clear sound, crisp sound, and some of these songs, however, they are simple. I'll give you that. Come On Love Me is perfect if you want to learn how to play the guitar. She is not that much more advanced, but as a whole, I don't think I can't find a weak song on Dress to Kill. I love all of them, so I have to go Dress to Kill.
yeah, I enjoy Dress to Kill. I mean, but
It's
I'm
fun.
not even
such
going.
a fun record.
I'm not even going to measure songs like Two Timer or Ladies in Waiting against any song on Toys in the Attic. They're just way more textures, and yeah, they're a year ahead, or they're a few years ahead. Really, I was starting in '70 from Kiss, but Sweet Emotion basically wins the argument for me, hands down.
perfect song.
Toys in the Attic as a song wins the argument hands down. Uncle Salty, Adam's Apple, Round and Round, No More, No More. I mean, You See Me Crying doesn't enter in the equation because, again, that was originally just a tag onto the ass end of Dream On that then became a song in its own right. And it was an attempt to redo Dream On and, didn't redo. And then obviously Walk This Fucking Way. Walk This Way versus Rock and Roll All Night. Those are two signature songs by two of America's biggest rock bands from the 1970s. And as a heavyweight battle, I think I've got to give it to Aerosmith.
Yeah, same here.
Rock and Roll All Night, hands
Much
down.
better.
But with an asterisk because of Run
Live version.
DMC. Because of the revamp of it changes the whole power rating for that song. So I'm Toys in the Attic, but I do love Dress to Kill. It's a poppy, upbeat album. Come On and Love Me is spectacular. Love Her All I Can is wonderful, makes me happen. Room Service is cool. Rock Bottom is fantastic. You know, there are
Shadow.
there
Shut
are
up.
really good songs on Dress to Kill, but the production is flat and too polished. It lacks grit, and Aerosmith's got a lot of grit in the attic.
Oh yeah.
Ken,
Yeah,
tell me
great.
I'm wrong.
Can break the tie.
Can
Yeah.
break the tie the right way now.
You're muted, Ken.
It can come on.
Oh,
Yeah,
classic.
audio is real. Whose audio is really quiet? Or mine?
What is me? Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with Julian at all. This is
Wow.
for many
I will not-
reasons.
I will not get
No.
the band hammer out.
No. This is, to me, Aerosmith at their peak. This is it's my favorite Aerosmith album. And I think it's great pretty much from beginning to end. Maybe one song maybe is just okay. The rest I think are just great. You know, Toys in the Attic, Uncle Salt, the Adam's Apple. I mean, big 10-inch record. Love that. You know, just great stuff. Of course, the hits. I think the production's great. The songs are all great. Though I know I do like Dress to Kill, but Dress to Kill is not my favorite Kiss album either. But while it's still good, I think the couple of Gene songs on there actually bring Dress to Kill down, unfortunately, because I don't think they were really, fully completed that he had on side one. And I am a Gene fan, but those are not his best, and that's not his best stuff. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really match up to a lot of these Aerosmith songs. So
yeah, I mean, if you go down to tracks, that's the problem. You know, you can't compare something like Two Timer to even like Adam's Apple or even like Uncle Salty's kills those songs. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So it's just a great Toys in the Attic. It's just a great album. Again, I think it's their best album in my opinion, but that's me. So I have to go with Toys in the Attic. That's a better album.
Kiss Army. Burn those Kiss Army cards, boys.
Yeah.
But again, Toys in the Attic, it can be nearly all performed live easily, and has
It's
been
a good album.
with the exception of the single. And the same can't be said for Dress to Kill. But still, I love Dress to Kill. Don't get us wrong. We're just again doing these matchups for silliness.
We're 2 Kiss fans and 3 other.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
I mean, Dress to Kill is such a perfect fun record. How the hell can it lose against Aerosmith?
Okay, it's a good Kiss record, but in comparison to something like that, I mean, come on.
Come on.
Within Kiss's catalog, it's probably good, but in other people's catalogs, it's probably looked at as middle of the road.
It's a Kiss podcast.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. This is why it's an unfair thing to do this, because you're going to always use that as an excuse.
Not unfair. I like what I like.
If I was 20
but I'm
years
saying
old,
that's the thing.
I would pick
that,
Kiss. I would pick Kiss. If I was 20 years old, I would say nothing beats any Kiss album. But as I've grown old,
the great thing is there is no wrong answer.
The thing is, it's not that you're getting older; it's because you've heard a lot more music, and when you hear a lot more stuff,
it's because you try to be sophisticated. Dress to Kill is a real cool.
That is not sophisticated.
Balls to the wall album.
It's not sophisticated. That is
not
a sophisticated
you just try
album.
to be sophisticated now, Mark.
Talking about being sophisticated, let's move on to 1976 and see how Rock and Roll Over, which is a raw,
not Destroyer,
a raw reaction to Destroyer, goes up against Boston's debut album. I think it's fair to start with Mark.
Okay, so we'll start with me with this. Now, this is an interesting matchup because Rock and Roll Over is my favorite Kiss album. Period. Yeah. Okay, I've always loved this album from beginning to end. Everything about it.
Mark, if you give this to Boston, I don't know what I'll do.
No, hang on a second.
Let's see.
No, hang on. Wait. Give me a chance.
I'll hang on.
Okay.
It'll be interesting.
Now Boston is a record that when I was a early young guitar player, when I first heard this album, my jaw literally hit the ground. I mean, this is an album that as a guitar player, people are going, holy shit, listen to that. I mean, those songs on this album are absolutely fantastic. And again, being a guy who does an album myself pretty much by myself when I do my own records, I have a lot of connection to Tom Schultz in that way, that he's pretty much now a one-man unit when it comes to Boston. But, this album was a great record that was written in band context with Brad Delp and the other guys as well. But this album, I mean, come on, More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Foreplay, Long Time, Rock and Roll Band, Smoking. I mean, those 5 songs alone, I mean, I don't think that the many bands have any luck to write that good of songs in their lifetime, and they wrote it all in one album. Okay, it's just a fantastic album, and I've gone through so many copies of this album, whether it's on cassette, CD, vinyl. Absolutely love it. But for some reason, there's something about Rock and Roll Over that always has that connection with me. It's the sound of the record. It's the vibe of the record. It's the way the band was jiving with each other at this point in the studio. I really, really think that this album, for me, would always come out on top against most other albums, mainly because it has such a strong connection to me. And the songs on there, there's just as many good songs I can rally off of Rock and Roll Over. Calling Dr. Love, I Want You. There's so many good things on here, Making Love, so many great songs on there as well. So it's not like Boston would run away with this. But again, it's another one of these records where it's very, very close for me. I mean, the guitar playing on Boston is just fantastic. I mean, the harmonized guitar solos in some of these songs on Boston are just near perfection. And I mean, I believe it was either Eddie Ophert or Eddie Kramer who was given the album to potentially mix at one point, and he listened to it and said, I can't do anything to this to make it better. And that's coming from one of these big producers, okay, and mix guys. So that goes to show you how fantastic this album was to begin with. But again, Rock and Roll Over has that special connection to me and is my favorite record, so I'm going to go with Kiss.
Wow, we got there in the end. Lonnie.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
By a hair.
Because it is Rock and Roll Over, which is a lot of people's favorite Kiss record.
Yeah.
And well, the Boston album's good. I don't own it, but I listen to it, and it's a lot of stuff that I've heard on the radio over and over and over the years. And a lot of people love that Boston album, and it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's really good. But for my personal taste, and that's what we're talking about, is our own personal taste. It's Rock and Roll Over by a landslide. It's not even close. No. It's not even fucking close to me. I'm sorry. It's not. And I know people love Boston. You're what?
The cursing.
I am bringing it out because it's not close. It's not close. Rock and Roll Over is near Kiss's perfection, top to bottom. And I probably actually agree with that too, because I love Destroyer.
That's insanity.
I sit here and defend Destroyer every freaking week too. So it's Rock and Roll Over. It's not close. I mean, Boston's good. It's a lot of good songs and a lot of stuff that I hear on the radio all the time. But those songs off Rock and Roll Over should be on the radio all the time, in my opinion, because
they weren't
on the radio. Who the hell
you had your 10 minutes, Mark. Let me talk for 3.
You're too young for that, David.
Yeah, probably.
They should be on the radio all the time because they're classic Kiss songs, top to bottom, front to back. It's one of Kiss's best albums. So Rock and Roll Over, hands down.
I was going to let Daniel go next, but I've got to follow on with something that Lonnie said. He said, I hear those songs on the radio all the time, and that goes to Boston. Yeah, nearly every single song on that album is a hit, and it's a song that when I listen to the radio, Daniel, why don't you take a radio in to show the class next week?
Kiss AM radio.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, every single one of those songs is a hit. 17 million people can't be wrong about the debut Boston album being absolutely spectacular. An incredible work of art, amazing songwriting, amazing arranging, amazing performance. And I love when I hear every single one of those songs on the radio. I reach for
I want
Rock
to.
and Roll Over to listen to by choice. It's my go-to Kiss album because I want to listen to it. I don't own that Boston album. I love hearing the songs on the radio. You know, it's a completely random thing. It's like, that's a great song. Oh, I enjoyed that. And now, where's my Rock and Roll Over CD? I love that CD. I love everything about it. I love the track sequence, the order, the performances there. Is it as great a work of art as Boston? Well, opinions are going to vary on that, but for me, I would much rather listen to Rock and Roll Over, and I couldn't give two shits if any of those songs show up on the radio because I've got that on my USB key in my car, so I can listen to it anytime I want. Daniel.
Well, the Boston album is really polished, sounds great. I listened to it the whole way through the album today, and but you know, to me, I don't know. The singer is a great singer. What's his name? The singer in
Brad Delp.
Yeah, what a great singer. But listening to him belting it out this high all the way through an album, I mean, my ears bled for the final songs. He's a great singer, but after a while I had to, loosen the headphones in order to keep my hearing. So, but I can't go against Rock and Roll Over. More than a feeling. I mean, it's so wimpy. It's so, I want you, ra-ba-ba-ba. I mean, the difference, more than a feeling. It's so wimpy. It's so sappy. I mean, I can't go out listening to more than a feeling. I hit the note almost there. Okay, but I want you. I want ra-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I mean, there's no comparison. Rock and Roll Over is a perfect rock album, and this Boston album is a great album, but it's a bit too wimpy for my taste. So I'll go with Rock and Roll Over every day of the week.
That's the Scandinavian executing chipmunks in the forest.
Chopping the head off.
Yeah. All right, Ken. Your pick. Tell us what.
Yeah, the Boston album. I like it a lot. I think it's a great album. It's, I guess you could call it AOR almost type of music. But all the songs are great. I mean, obviously they played them all on the radio. Probably have some burnout of it, but I'll listen to Rock and Roll over that. 3 times as much as I'd ever listen to that, or more than times even than that. I know Boston's album sold 17 million. It's 17 times platinum in the U.S. Yeah. So they sold a lot of records with that sucker.
Flies eat shit.
Made a lot of money, but I think come on, Rock and Roll Over. The production, I love Rock and Roll Over. It's perfect for Kiss. The songs are, all that gritty kind of songs, and of course the subject matter is all the making love and all that stuff. But
perfect.
It's much better for me than Boston. Boston, I'll pull that album out every now and then just to listen to it, and because it is a great album, but it doesn't match, at least for me and my taste. Rock and Roll Over is a fantastic album. So
just real quick, I have to mention, I think this is a great idea. It's cool to listen to some albums that you haven't listened to a lot. So I have to appreciate that Ken picked some of the albums that I didn't even think about, because it was a fun day to listen through them. So I hope we can do this kind of shows more.
I agree. Often. I had to go listen to that Blue Oyster Cult album, which I've never heard in my life. I had to go listen to this Boston album, which I don't own, and
Mhm.
to be reminded that all those songs are on the same fucking album. So it's a great idea, and I think every member on this show should get to do a matchup. You know, whatever group of years that you want to do, five albums, 5 matchups. Let's
Oh,
go
that's
for
gonna
it.
be fun.
Yeah, hey, you know, because each one of our tastes will come to the fore. So clearly, Kiss is the winner. Rock and Roll Over, and
I
corporate
think
rock.
all of us
I mean,
voted that.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, come on, Kiss is pretty corporate rock as well, but in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Let's move on into 1977. Love Gun versus Let There Be Rock, and someone's already asked the question, and it's so far up the screen already. Which version? The Australian, European with Crabsody and Blue and No Problem Child, or the American? I only own the Australian, but the digital I have on my playlist is the American. So we're going American here, which is Problem Child. And this is, for me, a very, very tricky matchup. But let's start with Ken.
Okay. Yeah, this one wasn't in my collection, though. I might have had it way back as a CD. I can't remember anymore. But I'm very familiar with the AC/DC songs, of course. You know, Let There Be Rock, and what was it? What's the other one? Problem Child, and Doggy Dog. Whole Lot of Rosie.
Whole Lot of Rosie.
Whole Lot of Rosie, definitely.
Yeah.
That one. It's really a really solid album by AC/DC, but a couple of the songs are just okay for me. And like, it was it. I don't know which version I listened to, but while it's a solid ACD sounding album, there's a few songs that I'm just okay with. But for Love Gun, I love that whole album too. Not quite as much as Rock and Roll Over, but the only really bad point of that one for me is, you know, the tagged on cover song at the end. Then She Kissed Me on Love Gun. Otherwise, it's solid, and you know, it's one of the first albums I bought back in the '70s, late '70s. So it wins for me. The Love Gun is, again, to me, I enjoy it much more than the AC/DC. This AC/DC album. There's some other AC/DC albums I like a lot more than this one.
Which one?
Like Highway to Hell, and, you know,
Yeah.
Back in Black, and that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, but Rosie versus Christine. That would be an interesting match. Lonnie.
This one was more difficult because I really like AC/DC, and this is a really good album. You guys were mentioning the songs on there: Problem Child, Whole Lot of Rosie, Doggy Dog, Let There Be Rock. I mean, it's really good, top to bottom, AC/DC record, and Love Gun is though too, with a lot of classic stuff on there too. So this one was a little more difficult, you know. And Daniel was comparing the Boston album to Rock and Roll Over, you know. With this one is more ballsy versus and Love Gun isn't as ballsy as Rock and Roll Over is though. You know, Kiss kind of took a little bit of a step back, and it isn't as in your face as Rock and Roll Over is. So that being said, it was a little more difficult to choose between the two, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna go with the Kiss album because there's still I think the Kiss songs do trump them at the end of the day, at least for my taste and in my opinion. You know, it was more difficult, but the Kiss album at the end of the day is still better with Shock Me and Love Gun and I Stole Your Love, Christine 16. It's still chock full of great and classic Kiss stuff, even though the AC/DC is up there and really, really good. And the track listing on there is great and full of classic stuff. So it was tough, but it is Kiss at the end of the day.
All right, let's go to the European sensibility. Daniel.
I think it's a close matchup. I think this is one of AC/DC's most solid albums. They were on a roll. You know, the previous albums were great, and then they went on with Powerage, Highway to Hell, Back in Black. I mean, they made a whole lot of great albums, but after Back in Black, I think they struggled. They didn't create a lot of great albums after that. Maybe Razor's Edge in 1990, but other than that, I don't think they, much like Kiss, had troubles through the 80s and early 90s. But I think Kiss was a better band at adapting. At least they tried to adapt. AC/DC tried the same formula, but I mean, after you've done it a few times, it gets kind of stale. So I think after Back in Black, they have maybe one, or some people say that the last album was great, Power Up, or
Yeah, that was a good album.
yeah. But it's a solid rock album, and I like that I think it's the first time they used the AC/DC logo on the album. The classic looking logo. So they had that down, and they had A Whole Lot of Rosie, and Let There Be Rock, the song, of course, and just a solid rock album all the way through. While Love Gun to me has some weaker songs, like Ken mentioned. I wouldn't put up Christine 16 against A Whole Lot of Rosie. A Whole Lot of Rosie would win that. So I think I have to give the nod to AC/DC this time around. It's a close one, but I think the AC/DC album is more solid all the way through. There's no weak song on the album. I listened to it today and I didn't skip any track. I think it sounded great. And of course you have Bon Scott, the classic singer of AC/DC, which is the one it's supposed to be. Unfortunately, passed away way too early. But AC/DC for me.
Yeah, so another European opinion. Let There Be Rock is a band just starting to hit its stride.
Yep.
It's kind of the equivalent versus Love Gun for me as, say, Crazy Nights versus Appetite for Destruction. That you've got a raw, hungry band versus a polished, established band. And Let There Be Rock is not AC/DC's best album to me. But Problem Child, Dog Eat Dog, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, Whole Lot of Rosie, Bad Boy Boogie,
Yeah, that's good.
it's just, it's got a couple of duds. I mean, Go Down to me is just, blah. But it's as good as Love Gun is. That production and the softening of the sound, the decaffeinating of it versus hungry energy. I'm giving it to Let There Be Rock.
Oh no!
Sorry, Lonnie.
Wow.
Once again.
I even said Guns N' Roses, and he.
Yeah.
So, Let There Be Rock. And don't get me wrong. Again, this is like the matchup with Dress to Kill for the same reasons, that there are just more heavy hitters on Let There Be Rock that get me off. And I can listen to that album and the sound, the rawness, the aggression, the rock and roll. Yeah.
I walked around the house today and I listened to some of these albums in my headphones. And when I listened to AC/DC, I couldn't stop, like dancing and striding around, every song. So there's something about this album that makes you want to move and makes you want to rock. So it's a good album, and they made a whole lot of great albums around this time. And I see your point there, that AC/DC's album is a bit better.
Yeah. Okay, Mark.
Well, when I first heard AC/DC when I was pretty young, I thought nothing of them, really, to be quite honest, because I thought that it was just nothing but a bunch of 12-bar blues shit, but just heavier distortion, and a guy that just, with a good singer, a guy that had a really cool voice.
Nothing wrong with that.
And okay, but still, that's what I thought when I first heard them. And Love Gun was an album that my sister played to death in the house. When she got it, she was playing that. She loved that album. So this album is firmly burnt into my brain from top to bottom. Now, as I gotten older, AC/DC became a band that I got into much more. When Back in Black hit, my sister got it, and that was played a lot in the house. And it was just played a lot in general here in Canada. They played it a lot on the radio, songs from that, and I got into it. For one of my favorite AC/DC albums is actually For Those About to Rock. I listened to that the other day, and I love that album. I think that has so many great songs on that album. It's very overlooked in my opinion. But this again is going to be one of these situations where it goes back for me more to nostalgia and more to the fond memories that I have attached to it. With Love Gun, again, those times hanging out with my sister and her friends in the apartment building, listening to Kiss stuff, going to that one guy's apartment building who had like his walls plastered with Kiss shit and flags and everything. We were listening to Kiss all the time, and this was one of the albums that we listened to quite a lot. Now, I'm not saying that this AC/DC album, isn't good. Yeah, there's a lot of good songs on here. A Whole Lot of Rosie's great. Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be is fantastic as well. Let There Be Rock is great. Bad Boy, it's all good. And I have nothing really negative to say about the album, but I think to me, because of like I said, the attachment that I have to it, nostalgic wise, I'm just gonna have to go with Love Gun more. I mean, to everybody's, and I've been guilty of saying this too, that AC/DC has written the same song for the last 15 years, or released the same album for the last 15 years, and that's sort of a narrow-minded way to look at it, because it's just because of the fact that they just stay in their lane. That's more than what it is than anything else. I mean, I think once they did like Razor's Edge, they did branch out a little bit, where they started, doing a little bit, they included, some melodic minor scales into their stuff for the very first time, because these guys are just all pentatonic blues players, Nothing wrong with that. If you like that kind of stuff, then that's great. I mean, I love the Black Crowes, and they're very much a bluesy band as well, right? But, the AC/DC, I love it. If I wasn't so influenced by Kiss in my younger time with my sister, then I probably might go with the AC/DC. But I'm going to go with Kiss.
Yeah. Who's left? Lonnie? Did I get you?
I went.
Everyone went.
I think everybody went with this.
Kiss wins.
Yeah, but I just have to mention, the biggest newspaper in Sweden, Aftonbladet, the evening news, if you translate it, they released these cool rock specials, and they included, this would interest Julian, old clippings from 1980 when AC/DC released Back in Black, and all the ratings it got from the biggest newspapers in Sweden. Back in Black, the greatest album of all time, selling out, tens of millions of records. It got 0 out of 5 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 10 reviews in Sweden.
Yeah.
So that tells you something about rock journalists, what they know. Not a thing.
Back in Black is horrendously overrated.
Yeah, but it's not 0 out of 5.
No, it's not a 0 out of 5, but it's not as good as Highway to Hell. That's for sure. For me. All right, let's move into the last matchup. 1979, Dynasty up against Blue Oyster Cult's Mirrors. Ken, why do you have to do those sorts of things to me? Get us started.
Well, the reason
because you've been on a kick lately, so don't forget to promote your Look It's Rock and Roll podcast episode.
What was my suggestion?
Oh yeah, there is a Look It's Rock and Roll podcast that was with me showing my recent collection or acquiring a bunch of the Blue Oyster Cult albums or vinyl albums. So yeah, I've been really into Blue Oyster Cult as of late. And this album, Mirrors, is kind of like, I picked it because it was the same year as Dynasty in 79, but for the fact that they kind of Blue Oyster Cult tried to go poppy, more of a mainstream rock kind of sound, like Dynasty did, like Kiss did, thinking that, we need to try to get some hits. We need to try to get on the radio kind of thing. Blue Oyster Cult was bitten by the bug, with a couple of hits earlier, with Godzilla and, Don't Fear the Reaper. Sorry. And they felt they needed something, so they got Tom Werman and produced this album, Mirrors. I think it's produced very well, for sure. I don't think it suits their their style, because a lot of their stuff is more creepy kind of stuff. This is not that way. But going up against Dynasty, it's a similar thing, theme there. They're trying to get a hit. They're trying to, get on the radio. So, Mirrors for me is really good. A lot of Blue Öyster Cult fans don't like it. It's probably one of their least favorite. I think it's okay. There are some songs on there that I think are really, catchy, like Doctor Music, and In Thee was released as a single. Nice song, cool song. But I think Doctor Music should have been released as a single on that album. But anyway, my favorite song on that album, Mirrors, is The Vigil, which I think it's an epic, over 6.5 minute song, which I just love that song. But there's a lot of others. There's a few other songs on there that kind of brings the album down, unfortunately. But going up against Dynasty has a lot of hook, great choruses and stuff like that. And of course, it had I Was Made for Loving You. Had that not been a hit, well, I don't know what we would say about it. It's a great written, hit song that made it on the radio. Otherwise, there's just a lot of pop hard rock songs on that too. But I got to give it to Dynasty, because Dynasty just, it's a matter of taste and stuff like that. But I think a lot of the songs like, Charisma, do better things for me when I listen to them, Magic Touch and Save Your Love. And it's more consistent in quality songs over the Mirrors album. But again, I picked these two up against each other just because they both took that left turn and tried to go pop rock or pop hard rock, whatever you want to call it, to get on the radio. It kind of worked for Kiss. It didn't work for Blue Öyster Cult. Therefore, Blue Öyster Cult decided to go with Martin Birch on the next album to produce their next album after that, and they got harder again. So anyway, I go with Dynasty.
Okay. Lonnie.
I listened to the Blue Öyster Cult album, and it was fine. I think I'm gonna pick Dynasty because I just am. I'm going to clean sweep with Kiss today on all of these. The Blue Öyster Cult album didn't do a whole lot for me when I listened to it today. But at the same time, I want to clean sweep with Kiss this week. But I think that there's other albums in '79 that we do these shows again that I don't think I would pick Dynasty. I think there's other interesting mashups like Highway to Hell and Van Halen 2 and things like that came out in '79 that bands are doing a lot of different things, going in a different direction than what Kiss and Blue Öyster Cult were doing. But I think it's an interesting matchup with what Ken proposed with two bands that are trying to be more poppy and are looking for a radio hit. So I think it is a great comparison, though. So, but that being said, I'm still going to go with Kiss just because I like Dynasty. It's a great album, and I think it's an underrated Kiss album. And we talk about it a lot on the show that it's not the disco album that it gets the name for. It's a very good rock album with a disco lead track. So I'm definitely going Dynasty on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go because I'm gonna echo some of your comments again. Again, I listened to this and it did nothing for me whatsoever. Mirrors, I got nothing out of it. There was like nothing stand out, nothing piqued my interest to even rewind slightly and hear something again. It was nothing to me. And I'm not a Blue Öyster Cult fan. I mean, I know the hits and that's about it. I've owned albums, Secret Treaties. I think I mentioned a couple of others again, but I can't even remember what they are now.
Fire of Unknown Origin. Yeah.
Again, I've run into Blue Oyster Cult and digging into the history of Aerosmith on tour and Kiss on tour, and that's really as far as my interest in them go. Dynasty, hands down, just because the other album does nothing for me, and I'll listen to Dynasty and not skip a track, even though it's got some ups and downs and some variable quality. It's a really good album. It's someone else, Cecil said, a very clean production by Vinny. This is Vinny's best Kiss album. In terms of its production and just the balance of everything with some of the keyboards and some of the other dynamics. Dynasty's a great album, so I'll shut up. Kiss. Daniel.
I think Dr. Music was a great song, but my favorite of the Blue Oyster Cult album was definitely I Am the Storm. I think that was a real cool, heavy song. But today, I think, was the first time I listened through the whole album. I never listened through it ever before. So, and I guess Dynasty I've listened to hundreds of times. So it's not really a fair comparison. But I didn't see a lot of greatness in the Blue Oyster Cult album. The one that stood out the most was I Am the Storm, and I liked Dr. Music. But other than that, it felt dated. It felt old. Dynasty at times still feels kind of cool, and I Was Made for Loving You still goes can be heard everywhere on the radio if you listen to that, or on the at events like in Madison Square Garden, hockey games, or what are other sports you have over there, baseball, and that NFL is the NFL finished now? Have they?
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't bring that up.
great, because every American Kiss podcast is destroyed during the playoffs in the NFL. Everyone feel they need to talk about the team. So fortunately, that's over. Yeah, but I Am the Storm, great song, but there's a whole lot of great songs on Dynasty, Magic Touch, I Was Made for Loving You, the A stuff, and pretty cool production. So even though it's not as solid as the previous albums, Dynasty still kicks Blue Oyster Cult in the ass. So I'll give it to Dynasty.
Yeah, and that's Ken made us listen. Me for the first time ever listening to that album. So that mission accomplished with this whole episode is to listen to stuff.
That's all I was trying to do.
and compare. Mark, final word: Blue Oyster Cult versus Kiss.
All right, I'll keep it short. I'm not a big Blue Oyster Cult guy. I've never been into the band. I don't own a single thing from them. I listened to the record, and much like Daniel and Julian and even Lonnie said as well, there was just nothing that caught me in this. I wasn't surprised to hear that Tom Werman produced this, because it sounds pretty much like every kind of Tom Werman production. I mean, even listen to what's it called? Theater of Pain, Motley Crue. It has a similar sort of production vibe to it. Very dry, very sort of sounding drums that he likes to have. But Dynasty has been a record that I've always said before. To me, when I hear Dynasty, it reminds me of New York City, downtown. It has that New York vibe and sensibility to it. I've always loved the songs. There's not a weak song on Dynasty, in my opinion. I really love that album. So, of course, I'm going to go with Dynasty over Blue Oyster Cult. And that's not to say that Blue Oyster Cult isn't a good band. I know Ken loves them, and that's great. I mean, he loves a lot of bands that I don't like, and I like a lot of bands that he doesn't like, so there's nothing wrong with that. But, it's just nothing really connected to me to Blue Oyster Cult. I don't know why. And I have a friend now, Richie Castellano, who's now in Blue Oyster Cult. So, I mean, you would think that I would probably have a better opinion of them because of that, but I really don't. But, yeah, what's it called? Dynasty's going to be my pick.
Yeah, our musical journeys all bring us together, through different paths, and we've run into different albums and bands, over our lives, and that's what makes us what we are. Everything is a part of our soundtrack of our life in some way, and some albums just haven't entered into the equation. Some groups haven't entered into the equation, or they have in negative ways. So again, there is no right or wrong answers. It's nice to compare. Well, these are two albums from 1979 from two big bands at the time. Here's two from 1975 from two monstrous albums, you know, in a sense. So it's fun to do the matchups just to kind of compare and just to see also from each of us how we approach these things, you know, whether we're all Kiss for this matchup or, you know, this and that, you know, pick a bit of, you know, different stuff, you know. So it's been very, I think Lonnie has to wear that new Kiss t-shirt for going all Kiss, because he stood up and represented.
When I get that long sleeve t-shirt, I'll wear it on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, you know, there's been a lot of chatter from the comments today. Thank you all for chiming in. I hope I was able to get most of your comments up, but we do appreciate you taking the time to comment and everything and join us while we do these live shows. Ken has managed to force me into a nearly 90-minute episode, and that takes some doing, because I started getting twitchy.
I did not force you. You never can be forced. I told me that earlier.
Nice.
I suppose I should unmute Daniel now that he's not crinkling his cookie wrappers.
Oh, sorry.
I just want Daniel to sing More Than a Feeling again.
Yeah. I'd like to hear the silver tongue of Ken. I have never heard you sing anything, so let's do Calling Dr. Love by Ken Keenan.
Yeah, and if not, point us to a video on YouTube that is the equivalent of you singing.
Oh, okay. I'll find an Elvis video.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this week. I think we need to do a death match soon and get going with the next round and that. But I think for now, this is the end. From Daniel, Mark, Lonnie, Ken, and myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.